Okay, welcome to this lecture on ElasticCache. So in this lecture, I'm not going to teach you anything groundbreaking, okay, but we are going to see a few solution architecture and also learn the difference between the Redis and Memcached, because it is something that you may have to choose between at the exam. So the same way we have RDS to get managed relational database, we get ElasticCache to get managed Redis or Memcached. And there are different technologies for caching. Caches are in-memory databases, okay, that have really high performance and really low latency. When they reach up to around, and they help you reduce load off of databases and read intensive workloads. So the idea is that anything that is frequently queried or very expensive to compute, and you would cache it, okay, into an ElasticCache database, so Redis or Memcached, and then the database itself would receive a lot less queries. They also help you make your application stateless. So if you have session stores, all these things, all this kind of things, ElasticCache is a great place to have this data in. Now, because this is a managed service, AWS will take care of all the OS maintenance, the patching, any optimization, setup, configuration, monitoring, failure, recover, backups. You do have to set up your own settings, and you do have to set up your own security groups to get access to ElasticCache. But overall, this is a managed service. So we get all the things we already know from the AWS. Overall, using ElasticCache does involve heavy application code changes. Like this is not something you get for free. So even though you do set up Redis or Memcached, your application code itself has to be refactored to use ElasticCache. So this is something you have to take into account when answering question in the exam, that you have to modify your application code also for using these in-memory databases available on the with the AWS ElasticCache. Now next, so ElasticCache can be used as a DB cache, okay. So the idea is that where application ElasticCache and for example a database such as Amazon RDS, so this is Amazon RDS, and the application, when they are refactored, will query ElasticCache, and if not available, they will get the data from the RDS and store in the ElasticCache. So that is one caching strategy that is called lazy loading. So if we get a cache hit, that's perfect, and we get the data back from ElasticCache. Otherwise, if you have a cache miss, the data is not in ElasticCache, then we are going to read it from the database and then write it to the cache. So this helps relieves any kind of load in RDS in case there are some hotkeys or something that reads very often, and you must have a cache invalidation strategy to make sure that only the most current data is used in there. Otherwise, there will be consistency. There will be a consistency between consistency problem between the state of your cache and the state of the RDS, and this could be a big problem when you have caches. This is a very hard problem to solve for the consistency of the caches and the Amazon RDS. Okay, so the second thing you can use ElasticCache for is to be a user's session store. So you have your application, and you are on two different in-studio instances, and your users, they are accessing it through Lambda user, but you haven't enabled a session stickiness. It's possible that your users are talking to any of the applications. Now what the application will do is that they will write the session data back into ElasticCache, such as if your user hits another in situ instance of your application, then the application can receive then the application can retrieve the session from ElasticCache and know who the user is, if it's logged in, its a state, and the kind of things. So we have this achieved statelessness in our solution architecture, regardless of if we hit one application or another, and that is a very common pattern for using ElasticCache to have user session store. Okay, so finally we need to understand the differences between Redis and Memcached. So because it may be something we have to choose on at the exam. So Redis is going to have the feature of multi-AZ, multi-availability zone with auto failover. So it is highly available, but there is some standby active, and you can recover from the failure of an availability zone. So that makes it very good choice based on some situations. And you create read replicas to scale reads and have the high availability. So this looks a lot like RDS, Redis, RDS memory technique. Maybe that works for you. So okay, other feature, it's persistent the data. So that persistence. So that means if you interval the read only file feature, AOF, read only file feature, and append only file, you can get back your data after losing your cluster. So it is possible for you to have backup and restore features, and that is extremely important. So this looks a lot like a real database from RDS that we are used to do. So okay, if we look at the Redis, I think Redis are replication, are for replication. So we have two Redis instances and some replication is happening between them. So what you need to remember out of the Redis is that it's highly available. There's some application, some backup, all that kind of the things. Memcached is another strategy. Okay, Memcached is a little different, and it has we'll see the second one also. In this case, like in the case of the Memcached, you have multiple nodes in Memcached, and this is not for the replication of data. This is for partitioning and data sharding. It's not persistent. It's not a persistent cache, meaning that if you lose the cache, then you lose your data. So it's really just for the temporary and transient data. There is no backup and restore feature, and it's a multi-threaded architecture. So when you look at the Memcached, this is maybe not something that is going to be the multi-AZ in the same way the Redis is. Uh, s- the way you should look at the Memcached is sharding. So that means that some data will go on to one Memcached node, some with go to another Memcached node, and this way your data is sharded across multiple instances of Memcached on that node, even though the other nodes may still be operational. Okay, so that's it. I hope that makes sense for the differences between the Redis and Memcached and ElasticCache role. I hope you liked it, this lecture, and I will see you in the next one.